friends, welcome to Moms and Money, where we talk about managing money, saving money, and making money to increase our overall financial wealth. Today we're going to be talking about how to increase our credit score, what really works when you need to increase it. First, let's talk about how the credit score is actually calculated, because I think a lot of people just don't have an understanding of that, and they just think of it as this overall number of how good you are with your credit, when in reality there is mathematics and science behind it. So let me share with you how it's actually calculated. According to Fair, Isaac and Company, which stands for FICO, they created the 3-digit score. And a good credit score is usually between 720 and 740 and above. Now, there are 5 factors that are used in calculating your credit score. Number 1, and this is the heaviest weight, 35% of your score comes from your payment history. It's almost like a report card for all of the debt that you have. How often are you paying on time? This is 35% of your score, and this really is heavily weighted in determining what your credit score is. Now, this one, I think long-term, for sure, this is gonna tell you if you have an excellent credit score or a bad credit score. But it's hard to control that in a short period of time. But I'll share later on what you need to do to increase it fast. So, your payment history is 35% of your score. 30% of your score is your credit utilization ratio, or your total available credit. So in order to calculate your credit utilization score, you need to take your outstanding balance and divide it by your total available credit. So for example, if you have a credit card with a $7,000 balance, meaning you owe $7,000 on your credit card, and the credit limit on the credit card is $10,000, then that means your credit utilization ratio is 70%. That's not good. We want to lower the credit utilization ratio and increase your total available credit. Okay, so by lowering your balance that is owed, you're increasing your total available credit, which decreases your credit utilization ratio. Did I confuse you yet? This is 30% of your score here. And this is the one that really will affect it in a short period of time. Okay, so again, all it is if you take your balance that you owe on your credit card, all of your credit cards, balance those together, and then take your overall credit limit of all of your credit cards, divide that, and then that becomes your credit utilization ratio. And again, the lower that number is, the better off you are. So far, that's 65% of your score is right there with those 2 factors. The third thing, which is 15% of your score, is the age of your debts, your credit history, the number of years you've been borrowing. Now, this is something that you really can't control, especially if you're younger and you're really just starting out. It's something that you can't control, but over time, if you make good decisions, then your credit history will be a positive one. So again, that's just the number of years you've been borrowing. Now, number 4 and 10% of this is your credit, the type of credits that you have. If it's a good mix, if not all of your debt is just all credit card or all your mortgage or student loans, it's like just the mix of your credit card. But again, that's only 10% of your score. And then the last 10% is credit inquiries. So how many times is your credit pulled for different things, whether you go to buy a home or a car or line of credit or a credit card or anything like that, how many hits that you have and how many times your credit has been pulled. And if it's pulled a lot within a short period of time, then your credit score will typically drop a little bit. Now, it's only 10% of your score. So, I mean, I always hear people say, well, I don't want to get my credit pulled because I don't want it to affect my score. Well, at the end of the day, it's only 10% of that. Those other things that are mentioned are way more effective when it comes to your score. So a lot of times if you're shopping around for, like, say a mortgage, your credit's gonna be pulled quite a bit. So it's important that you do your research ahead of time and pick like 3 different places that you want to see and inquire about. I definitely suggest that you shop around for something like that, not just, you know, take the first thing that you see. But again, that's just something to think about. Before I continue, I do want to say it is so important to live a consumer debt-free life. Okay, the power in that. Okay, you shouldn't be worried about your credit score if you're trying to pay your way out of debt. Right now, that should be the least of your worries. You need to be laser focused on your plan, on how to get out of debt and how to stay out of debt. To me personally, the only time you need to really be worried about your credit score is when you are getting ready to purchase a home, okay? Because I don't believe in car notes. Getting your credit score pulled for a car note is like the knife in the heart for me. Now, I know some people feel like, you know, well, it's impossible for me to save for a car. It's impossible for me to buy a car without getting a car note. And honestly, that's just consumer marketing at its finest. It's not true. You don't have to get a crap car, you know, that doesn't work. You know, I think people assume, oh, if it's a used car, you know, I'm gonna get a crappy car and buy somebody else's problems. I'm not gonna do that. And I've heard people actually say this, and that's not true. You can get a decent car and save the money and get a really decent car for $10,000, $15,000. Okay, it's really easy for people to say, oh, let me just get a car note for $15,000. But if you had to actually write a check for $15,000, you would think twice about the investment. You would wanna make sure that this is something that is going to be an asset to you and not a liability, because when you have a car note, it's an automatic liability to you. Okay, the minute you drive, if you buy a brand new car, the minute you drive off the lot, it already decreases in value immediately. Okay, so I never suggest anybody buy a brand new car. I made that mistake over 15 years ago, and that's why I'm still driving that 15-year-old car, girl. It's paid for and it works. And girl, I'm gonna drive it until the wheels fall off. But I digress. I'm just saying all this to say, do not worry about your credit score unless you are getting ready to buy a home. Now, don't get me wrong, emergencies will arise, and maybe you do need to have a good credit score. And honestly, once you start getting a healthy relationship with money and you know how to properly use a credit card, that's when your credit score will skyrocket into the excellent range, and you have that power in your back pocket in case you need it. Okay, I pray that you don't, but in case you need it, you have it right there. Okay, all right, so let's go on to talk about the ways to increase your credit score fast, okay? Number one, your payment history.
Girl, pay your bill on time.
Pay your bill on time. Even if it's the minimum payment, pay it on time, okay? It's just detrimental for you long term if you're just figuring out how to pay it. You know, you need to work on getting yourself out of debt if you're having a hard time paying the minimum payment. Maybe you need to schedule it ahead of time, or maybe you need to change the payment date to be close to the day that you get paid so that you can pay it on time. Because those dings on your credit every single time you pay late, it's just not worth it, especially if it's just because you forgot. Okay, so really take the time to sit down, pay your bills on a timely manner so that everything's paid on time. So that's number one. But again, that doesn't really affect it right away like the second way that I'm gonna tell you. The second way to drastically increase your credit score, and to me it's the most powerful, is to increase your total available credit or decrease your credit utilization ratio. So if you know that you're going to be getting your credit pulled for a mortgage, a company, or to get a mortgage or something like that within the next couple of months, give yourself a couple of months and start throwing all of your extra money on your credit card debt. Okay, this is what will drastically change your credit score, is if you decrease your credit utilization ratio. Stop using your credit card. Don't increase your balance that you owe. But the more that you pay on it, the higher your total available credit is, and that is what can drastically change your credit score. I'm talking at least 50 points here, is if you change your credit utilization ratio. So work on that. Give yourself like 2 or 3 months to throw all of your extra money on your credit card so that you can increase that. Now, if you have a student loan, a really large student loan, throwing a couple extra $1,000s isn't gonna drastically help your credit score. But the credit cards will, if you have a credit card balance, it will drastically change your score and it will help you in the long run. But if you're saying, well, hey Gia, how am I supposed to throw extra money at it? I don't have any extra money to spend to pay on it. What am I supposed to do? Well, first of all, you need to get yourself on a zero-based budget to see if you have extra money to actually pay your credit card balance down. Okay, download my free zero-based budget in the description box so that you can learn how to get on a zero-based budget so you can clearly see exactly where your money is going. Once you see where your money is going, I guarantee you'll find something, whether it be eating out, whether it be gifts, or maybe your car is too expensive, girl. Downsize and downgrade for this short period of your life, because it's really powerful when you do that. Create a budget, see if you have any wiggle room in there to just throw that extra money at your credit card to pay the balance down, and that will drastically increase your credit score. Leave a comment down below and let me know, why are you concerned about your credit score? Is it because you're getting ready to make a major purchase? Leave a comment down below and let's talk about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, you can tap my picture up above, and you can also check out my previous video right over here and all of my social media platforms, all listed down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.